Okay, we are going to continue with Chapter 6 notes today, solving multi-step inequalities. So what we're doing today is we are combining what we talked about in Chapter 3 with equation solving, those equation solving steps. Distribute first, combine like terms if they're on one side of the equal sign, move any variables to one side by using opposites, undo any addition or subtraction, then undo any multiplication or division, and then undo any fractions. We're going to be combining that equation solving properties with the new things from Chapter 6, which is the graphing. We still use the less than and the greater than symbol as an open circle when graphing on a number line, and a less than or equal to or a greater than or equal to as a closed circle on the number line. And then we're going to be drawing arrowheads in those orders. So you do that in those steps. You first solve the equation to get one variable on one side of the inequality with a number on the other side of the inequality, and then you graph on a basic number line. Okay, so going to our examples, we're going to do numbers 1 through 6 today. Okay, so first, equation solving. So these are all two or multi-step equation solving. They're not the basic ones that we did in 6.1 where it was just like x plus 3 is less than 7. These are two-step. So in number 1, we want to get this x by itself. So we'd undo the -3 first by adding 3 to both sides. So we have 5x is greater than, and 12 plus 3 is 15. We still need the x by itself. So we are going to need to divide the 5 out, divide both sides by 5. And the inequality stays the same because we're not multiplying or dividing by a negative. And 15 divided by 5 is 3. So we've gotten our inequality by itself. So that's our first step. The next thing is that we need to graph this on a number line. So I'm going to use a reference of 0, and 3 is greater than 0. And x is greater than 3, so we're going to have an open circle at +3, and our arrow goes to the right. And if you remember, as long as your variable is on the left, the inequality symbol will match the arrow that is on your actual number line graph. Okay. Moving on to number 2, we're going to do the same thing. We want the x by itself, so we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So we have -3x is less than or equal to 21. Still, the x is not by itself, so we need to get the -3 away from the x by dividing by -3, divide by -3. And remember, when you are multiplying or dividing by a negative, you need to flip the inequality. So it goes from a less than or equal to a greater than or equal to, and 21 divided by 3 is -7. So we've gotten our variable by itself, and now it's time to graph this on a number line. So -7 is smaller than 0. At -7, since the inequality is greater than or equal to, it's going to be a closed circle. And since the variable is on the left, our arrow on our number line can match the inequality symbol. Okay, number 3, last one on the front. So we have a variable on the left and a variable on the right of the inequality symbol, but I do notice that we do need to do some distribution, which is the first step in equation solving. So we have to multiply the 3 times the x and the 3 times the 7. So that means -x minus 1 is going to stay the same. Is less than or equal to 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 7 is 21. After distribution, we combine any like terms, so that means we need to get the 3x to the left or the -x to the right. I am going to move all of my x's to the left, just a preference, so I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. So that means my new problem is -4x minus 1 is less than or equal to 21. Now to get the negative 1 away, I'm going to add 1 to both sides. Negative 4x is less than or equal to 22. We now are going to be dividing both sides by negative 4, negative 4. And again, we are dividing by a negative, so the inequality symbol flips to a greater than or equal to. And before I write 22 over 4, I can do some reducing. Both are divided by 2. 22 divided by 2 is 11. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So my answer is x is greater than or equal to negative 11 halves. And I'm going to write my inequality graph over here. Again, there's my answer. Negative 11 halves is smaller than 0 on the number line. The greater than or equal to symbol is a closed circle above negative 11 halves. And our inequality symbol to match would mean that anything to the right of negative 11 halves is greater than. Okay, moving on to the back. Room to write. Okay, number 4. We only have one variable, so we're going to move the 5 first by subtracting 5 from both sides. We have negative 2/3 x is greater than negative 4. In order to get the negative 2/3 away from the x, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3 over negative 2. And because I multiplied by a negative, I'm going to flip the inequality symbol. And 2 negatives become a positive. 2 and 4 both produced by 2. I get 1 and 2. 3 times 2 is 6. So our equation is x is less than positive 6. Again, here is 6 on a number line. In comparison to 0, it's to the right. The less than symbol means it's going to be an open circle at positive 6. And my inequality symbol is going to match my arrow on my number line. Okay, moving on to number 5. We have a distribution going on. So we're going to distribute negative 2 into x and negative 2 into negative 4. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8, is less than or equal to x plus 3. So we've done step 1 in equation solving. Again, you can look back at the front on your notes if you need to. Next, we're going to combine all of our x's together, or combine all of our like terms. I get the x's together first, so I'm going to move this x to the left by subtracting both sides by an x. We have negative 3x plus 8 is less than or equal to 3. Now I'm going to get the 8 away from the x by, that is going to be subtracting both sides by negative 8. So negative 3x is less than or equal to negative 8 and positive 3 are opposite, subtract. Take the sign of the bigger number. And the very last step is dividing both sides by negative 3. Again, I'm dividing by a negative, so that means my inequality symbol flips. These two negatives become positive, and 5/3 can't be reduced. So our equation is x is greater than or equal to 5/3. And then my number line, I'm going to start 6 fresh, guys. We're comparing 0 to 5/3. 0 is smaller than 5/3, so it's to the left. The symbol, inequality symbol is greater than or equal to, that is referring to a closed circle, and my arrow points to the right. So again, you need your equation, your inequality, and you need it graphed on a number line. Okay, I'm erasing first number 6. Okay, number 6. So there is 2 ways of going about number 6. We could distribute the 4/3 into the x minus 5. But if you recall, 4/3 is a fraction. We could also flip it to move it to the other side. So that's what I prefer to do. I'm going to prefer to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which is 3/4. And it gets rid of the fraction, which leaves us just x minus 5 on the left. I didn't multiply or divide by a negative. And then going ahead and reducing, 1 negative is a negative. 4 and 16 are divisible by 4. You get 1 over 4. 4 times 3 is 12. And in that first step, I got rid of fraction. If you would have distributed, you would have had 2 fractions that you would have had to deal with. Okay, I'm going to get the negative 5 away from the x by adding both sides by 5. And I did not multiply or divide by a negative. Negative 12 and positive 5, different signs, subtracting at 7. Take the sign from the bigger number. Okay. Negative 7 is to the left of 0 on the number line, referring to a closed circle. It includes the answer of negative 7, and my arrow points to the right. Okay, these are the notes for the beginning part of 6.3. We'll do the rest tomorrow. You will have the practice to work on today.